Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Fed Up with the eternal miserable one, me, Fed Up Gaz. Joining me today are Alex and JP from the band Necrotic Gorebeast. How is it going today, both?
Uh, Doing
Good,
great, man.
good.
Doing great. Thanks for having us with you today. It's a real pleasure.
Oh, you're both very welcome. I'm seriously stoked about getting into this with you. Alex, I mentioned in one of the emails I sent to you, a very charming one that I'd shit myself 5 times when I listened to Repugnant. So the title for that album, and it's the opening track as well. How did you all come up with that title and something to represent all the sickness and heaviness there? I'm just wondering how you all thought of that.
Want to go with this one, JP? Since you
Yeah,
were the
it just came up like that. When you try to find an album title, you're trying to think about like something that really like encapsulates the whole vibe and all the themes of the album.
Yeah.
And now it just came to me like repugnant, like one word, one simple word. And the fun thing is, it's the same in French and English. So
Yeah.
just felt right. It came up pretty quick.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, we from the first album we released in 2019. Uh, Overall, the theme of the band so far has been like the the wickedness of man, the repugnant side of man, stuff like that. So we tend to go with this kind of theme where we when we write song titles, and this one I think it was a bit more catchy to pronounce, just a single word like JP said, and after that we had a whole field to explore when we created the song titles and the song that goes with the vibe of the title of the album.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting. So that kind of inherent evilness that can be in humanity and in the beast of man is it's perfect, isn't it, for making really sick slam, brutal death, deathcore, hardcore grunge, all the extreme music because especially if we look at history and even things that are going on now and often in people will put that question, what if we come into contact, say, with other civilizations in space? Will we be actually be the aggressors? If you look at our history, so I thought that was very interesting, and again, it just seems a perfect blend for the music. I like as well. It's got that cinematic edge, like with you can hear the sample, and it reminds me of like those horror movies or those dark dystopian sci-fi movies where it's not a nice world at all. It's very dark, it's very evil, it's very sinister, and it's then how does that person survive in that world as well? I thought it was the perfect opener.
Yeah, I think exactly like you said. Um, when we go with the whole process of creating a new album, we try to go with some influences, like you said, create a theme for the album. So the vileness of man,
Mm,
the dark side that we uh, are not exposed publicly, but we know that it exists. So
yeah,
we love to explore these kind of um, thematic with our songs, the vibe of our riffs, the stuff like that, the samples that we use. So it goes dark, deep, but it's at the same time we try to keep it catchy and brutal in the same way. So it's kind of a blend of the two. So it got a bit of a darkness, but a catchy side too.
yeah. It's even got that humor in as well, which we'll get to as we talk about the tracks. And I put the disclaimer out in advance. If I giggle as well, it's not in a bad way. There's one in particular I'm looking forward to doing a deep dive on, but we'll get to that one. But you're right. It's that vileness. It's like the underbelly. It's lurking behind what is really happening in that person's mind as well. Are they what they say they are? Um, and I liked the video that accompanied with it as well, which premiered on Slam Worldwide, where it's got the album artwork as well, the lyrics, very very nice. I just wondered who come up with the video for you.
It was BSA Graphics. It's a guy that plays brutal death metal in
Nice.
Indonesia. So the guy is very talented. He has done multiple videos for bands like Corpse, for example, and stuff like that. So I knew the guy was very talented. I saw other stuff that he did prior to with other bands, like I mentioned. So I was like, we have a great, I think, from our point of view, the cover art of the album is very cool. It
Mm,
it projects another vibe that tends to not be that much present in the slam or brutal death metal scene right now. So we wanted
yeah.
to get a bit ahead of the curve, you know. So with this one, we knew that it was going to be very cool. Plus adding the creativity of BSA graphics. So I think the result for the first video was really what we wanted to produce, you know.
Yeah, that works definitely. Is catchy and stands out. Do you have any other videos planned that you're working on at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey.
There's another video that's coming out October 19th. It's gonna be featured on Slam Worldwide, but it's gonna also be on all the streaming platforms. So the title is the second song of our album. It's called Unsedated Face Removal. So this one goes a bit more. So it's a. It's, I think it's very funny, you know. So, like you mentioned, when we try to come up with song titles, we want to create in the instant effect when we
Yeah,
read the song title, like, oh, it's so exaggerated that it's funny but still brutal in the same way. So we don't want to get too serious. We know we have put a more dark side in this album, but with song titles like this one, I think it's gonna catch the attention of the listener, hopefully. So it's gonna come
yeah,
up in less than 2 weeks, and
nice.
so I think it's gonna be cool.
Oh, I'll be stoked to see that. Um, I'm glad you just said that, Alex, because I often say to people when they'll comment to me, people that aren't into the extreme ends of music, and they'll comment to me about grindcore, hardcore, slam, brutal death, and they'll mention often the song titles, even the artwork. Will be like, "Oh man, that's too extreme for me," or whatever. And I always say, think of it as you just said, Alex. It's very exaggerated. It's like over the top theater, and there is humor still there as well. And it's just there's just something about it that catches you. It's the heaviness. Like this is look, I'm nerding here. I really am, but this is the sense that came to me when I listened to the full album. I could imagine myself doing one of my favorite activities of saying to one of my friends, "Would you please kindly grab hold of me, swing me around at a very high speed, and then let me go, and I'll land wherever." It really does have that feel of the pit. You've got the vocals there, the brutal drums, JP. Um, you've got, like I said, the vocals, the riffs, everything is there, and it just like hits off that chemical reaction in your brain. I'm like, man, I just want a motion pit to this just so much. This is absolutely badass. Yes, I'm fanboying, I know I am, but that comes across. So there's one song. There's one song. I'll just say this. I'll spoil it. It's a 6-track in which I'm gonna try and contain myself when I do a deep dive about that one. So when you come up with the title for Unsedated Face Removal, I'm curious with that one. Was that inspired again? Was that possibly inspired by some of the gore and splatter horror movies, and also maybe hinting at that dark nature in man, hiding behind the surface?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we tend to get influenced by bands like Cannibal Corpse or
Yeah,
Devarmans, bands, you know, that gets at a level that is so exaggerated or so extreme that it gets funny, So
Yeah.
we're not trying to get too serious, We're not going to go on stage with a grim face and being unapproachable at the merch table. So people, I think we did a tour this summer, and the best comment that I think I've received from one person was like, I had a smile for the whole show while I was listening to your set. So I was like, man, that's exactly what we want. Maybe some people will listen to it and they're like, oh, it's so brutal that it gets funny at a way. Oh, look at this song title. It's called Unsedated Face Removal, or
Yeah.
there's other song titles like Masturbated to Death.
That
So
that's the one I'm coming to. Yeah.
yeah, you talked about the sixth one. So for this one, JP came up with this song title. I wrote the
Yeah,
lyric.
actually, yeah. But the fun part actually is that about like half of the song titles are actually inspired by like articles that I've seen on the internet, of actual thing that happened, So it's like, oh, and every time I'm like, oh, that's so crazy. There's a song there for sure. So that might be like feeding the aspect of like, there's something with human nature and the reality that's really like grim.
Yeah.
So yeah, Masturbated to Death was, I don't remember the article exactly, but like it was about like someone who like masturbated so much that like he became like dehydrated and died or something.
So I was, well, I'll go out of order. What the hell? That was one I was saying to the guests we had on before. I said, man, when I do deep dives about these songs, I said there's one in particular. I said I'm going to struggle to keep a straight face. I was Masturbated to Death, and I couldn't help. I thought, again, it's my nerdy imagination here, and I just thought, you've just said it. It's, you can't help but laugh because there's the true horror that, hell, this is actually something real. This happened, but you can't have that comedy on it because I'm getting a sense, well, it was a serial masturbator, and the only way they could stop him, or he was stopped with someone masturbating him to death, or
Sometimes the reality is stranger than the fiction. So,
dude, that is going to be so awesome to play live. You can go, next is going to be Masturbated to Death.
Exactly. It's just the song titles, but because obviously, like for you, for example, and people that have been following us for our last releases are tends to get used to the thematic of our song or the song titles that we tend to use. But I guess sometimes there's people that just are just discovering us live and they're like, oh, what what the hell is this called? It's called gagging on feces, or the or autoerotic rectal prolapse, where a guy just plays with his,
Yeah,
his rectum, and masturbate with it. So I mean, it's just an old feel where it gets so exaggerated that it's the kind of and most of the songs I wrote the lyrics, and when I go back to the lyrics that I wrote like a couple of years ago, I still get a good laugh out of it.
yeah,
So people that just hear gutturals, vocals, and say, "Oh, there aren't any lyrics. It's impossible to have lyrics on these songs." So
yeah,
when they go and deep enough to read the lyrics, it gets even more funnier.
yeah. It's it's that in it's matching the intensity with it as well. And when you're listening to bands such as yourselves, and it's all about the feel of the music, the heaviness, the mosh parts, the pit parts, you playing it, the riffs coming in, the drums, the bass, the vocals. It's just all about those feels. And yeah, some people, okay, yeah, they can't get into it, and maybe Masturbated to Death isn't maybe one I can sit down on the, where, I can have a romantic soiree over. Well, maybe some people can. That's each to their own. But it's the often misconception I feel with extreme music. People will often say there's no skill in it. Someone's just hitting the drums non-stop, or they cannot play the guitar properly. Anybody can shout, anybody can do that. And I'm like, no, 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 they can't. It is actually really complicated, really complex. The train your voice, the projection you need for it, to keep to the fitness as well, because it's very high energy, very physical, to play those instruments at that speed also. And I feel, I think once people can appreciate the music and appreciate that intensity and see what bands like such as yourselves are doing, and just how it really isn't easy to get that more of that respect. I often say to people, I kind of not being an elitist here, not trying to be, when they say, "Oh, we can't understand the words" or whatever, and I say, yeah, and with some of the pop music that you listen to, I really wish I couldn't understand the words, but that's, that's something different. So, with that being said, before we get into the other songs, as I bring you in here, JP, with the drums, once the rest of the guys send the riffs and the vocals, do you naturally play the drums on what you're hearing from those riffs, match that fierceness?
Well, actually, the way I write my parts, I just sit down on my computer, listen to the tracks and my DAW, and program jobs on it, so I can get a good, a good grasp of what's being played, and switch things over, and so I can get a real feel. And if I listen back to it and like nod my head or whatever, I know it's good.
Yeah.
But most of the time, I say like I'll go with whatever comes to my mind when I hear the riff. So I feel like that might be a way to really have like a cohesive songwriting, with the guitar parts and the drums and everything. So yeah, I don't complicate. I don't make it like too complicated or whatever.
Yeah.
Just follow the riffs, and sometimes I'll switch things over because like, I can see a pattern, like, or like these kinds of riffs on the first two albums. I tend to do like this or that. On this album, actually, I try to go like switch things around a little bit.
Yeah.
So I have like different patterns and stuff.
Yeah. So it's kind of, you know what works, you know what feels right, what's going to match that heaviness as well. Is that the same for you, Alex, with the bass and the rest of the guys, with the guitars and vocals? Just naturally, what you all know is going to work, which is going to be nice, sick and heavy. It's going to be good to play, and the fans are going to eat up.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've been working together since 2017. So at first, I came up with the idea to to record a two song demo. So we were able to test ourselves, going through this demo, what works, what doesn't work, at a very low cost and very limited risk. So if we were to release something that was like not well received or getting under the radar. I mean, it was just only two songs. So
Yeah.
when we tested ourselves and we reproduced this pattern for the first album, the second one, and obviously the third one. So basically, I wrote my songs. I tabbed them and I sent them to Mike just for him to get a feeling out of the songs, just to play the riffs, do the pre-production of the guitars. So at this moment, he can adjust tempo, loops of riffs, or everything like that. So sometimes I do tab things that he feels like are not are too hard to play live. So I was like, okay, cool, just make some small adjustments and everything. So for me, I get much more prepared to what Mike can expect to play on the guitars of the album. So for the bass, the guitars, it's the same thing. So after that, it's just a matter of getting the approval and the review of GP over the drum recording and programming. So at the end, when everything is done, we get a good feeling of the whole song, and after that I work with John for the vocals. So John goes with his feeling. I wrote a shit ton of lyrics, so he can use whatever parts he wants, so we can work on removing lines, adding more, getting so adjust lyrics. So at the end, we've been doing this for like 6 years, and it's still working, So it's just a
Yeah.
matter of which song are we creating at first. So for this album, Mike was able to produce more songs, and I think it shows with the vibe of the album, So we started with what Mike produced at first, and we worked around it. So I think it it kind of explains the different vibe of the album versus our two prior ones.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, that's good that you've obviously got that close bond. You know what's going to work, how it's going to feel. Coming then, and this. I'm sorry, I'm going to be smiling whenever I do a deep dive on these song titles. Um, Consensual Castration,
Yeah,
which that sounds a pleasant experience. No, this is a oh man, this was a furious one, very fast. This would be awesome to pit to as well. I just wondered, another loaded question here. Um, what inspired the title, and then we'll get into the feels of the
It's
music as well.
it's another article actually, and I think it's about some events that happened in the I think it was around London or something.
Right.
And yeah, some people were streaming castrations in the backyard. So they were actually people were consenting to be castrated, and people would film it and stream it on social media. So you see, realities are sometimes like more fucked up than
Yeah.
whatever you can imagine.
I'm sat here now with my legs crossed already. Just doing it like
no,
Yeah.
JP is very good to find these kinds of articles, and when all these years, like, oh, we have to keep this articles. It talks about two dudes castrating themselves
Yeah.
and filming. So
I do have like a file on my phone with the links to the articles and like title ideas and stuff. It can always be useful.
dude, could do a Netflix series, 10 episode special just on that. Episode 3, consensual castration in London. Man, I mean, talk about endurance training for combat sports. I mean, yeah, there's but the fury for that one. That's one of look, the whole album is killer, but that's definitely one of the standouts for me as well. Because it's just it's the speed as well. I know you can get heaviness as well even in a slow way, even with riffs like with heavy hardcore beatdown and death doom, for example, and some sludge. I know it's a different kind of heavy, but that one for me just encompasses the entire album. I hope that's okay to say because it's got the absolute relentless fury and speed. Absolutely hits you straight away. And yeah, that one just I thought, man, that is so you mentioned a bit with JP about the drums as well, come with the riffs. I'm just curious, how do you put together something so fast and brutal like that? And you after you've done it, you must come out and say it, which you've got to do because you're obviously fans as well. You've got to come out like, man, that's going to make them shit them for sure.
Well, like I said, just follow the riffs, and I
Yeah,
gotta put like I'm just gonna play what was gonna be better for the song. And sometimes, since like I said, like I program drums on the computer, and then I have to play it. So sometimes I hate myself for sure.
I
But
mean,
hey.
JP is a very humble person, but I mean, we've been following the scene for a very long time, and for me personally, I think he's one of the fastest drummer in the brutal death metal scene.
yeah,
The one that we're playing, I mean, there's the drummer of Ingested, there is Cryptopsy, obviously. I mean, there's top-notch drummers out there, but I think JP stands at the level of these guys. He can play super fast. He's very fast on his kicks, on his blast beat, and everything. So it really helps us when we want to kick kick in, and put some heaviness and speed in our songs. To have a level of drummer that GP can provide.
Yeah, yeah, for real, and it absolutely shines. It really does. And this one, um, it features a guest vocal performance from Cryptopsy's Matt McGachy. Sorry if I've pronounced that wrong. So there's that good collaboration process. Have you obviously known them in the scene a long time, been in Canada, and just reach out and say, "Hey, we'd like to get you on this one."
I mean, JP is from Montreal. He knows a lot of people, and I think Matt McGachy is one of these persons. So I mean, JP knows Matt pretty well. The guys of Cryptopsy too, but for us, it was probably easier having this kind of relationship already established to approach Matt because I know he's very busy. They've released their latest album prior this last month. They were going on tour, so I was like, at first I wasn't looking for any feature on this album, but John, our singer, came up with this idea to ask Matt for a feature. So I was like, I really like this idea, and we have these songs that really fits well with his type of vocals, and that's what people will be able to hear with the release of our album with Consensual Castration. I think it's
Yeah,
a perfect fit for the type of vocals that Matt can provide.
yeah, yeah, it really is. And the next one. Um, I'm so curious to hear just these tales where you found these real the real world events behind all these songs now. So, um, never know what answer I'm going to get here, folks. Shout out to Ross from Planet X Filmworks for coming through as well, man. Yeah, definitely check him out, bro. You'll dig it for sure. So, um, self-inflicted cerebral edema. Um, that must be is that some kind of story of backyard surgery or something gone wrong? Guessing.
I think I came up with this one,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure if it was inspired by a true event. It was just the idea of a guy inflicting himself with just banging his head with a baseball bat. I was like, man, it's just having this vision. I was like, oh, it's really inspiring to write lyrics. So I was like, I like this idea, so it inspired me. So it's every song is like an opportunity to write a small novel or a small movie,
Yeah.
just like if I was asked to write a song about the movie Brain Dead, so it's
Oh,
just get
classic.
where at a level where we try to get it as exaggerated as possible, and just getting, you read the song title and you're like just like yourself, you're already laughing. So I had the idea. So I guess I might be able to find a true story that fits
Yeah.
with this idea, but it was just a matter of getting a laugh out of it and just being inspired by, like I said, the vision of a guy just banging his head just
Well,
until he bleeds internally. So,
yeah. Maybe he was forced to watch one of those reality singing contests, and it got too much, and that was it. The baseball bat was the only way out.
uh,
Could could be that. There's horror in a different sense. But the thing is, you're right, because it's got that humor, but you can do so much with art when you exaggerate it like that, because that would even make an amusing video to go with the song. Say you've got a guy in the props and he's got the baseball bat, and you could do a comedy situation like something on what I've just said, or someone that never shuts up talking, pretty much looking at myself there, and he's bashing his head in it as a way out. So for those that are so so how did you, again, was it a similar process with how you put the music together for this one?
yeah, I think we for this album we were very cautious with the fact that we wanted to provide a new unique experience compared to our first two release. I mean,
Right.
every album that we have their own vibe, but I think we saw that people were maybe expecting us to keep going in the brand of the slam genre. So expecting slower riffs, thing changing and stuff like that. So we were like, okay, let's go with something different, like it transpires through the cover art that we choose to. So Mike has been able to provide more songs for this album. So I really like his creativity, the songs, the vibe that he provided. So we were like, okay, let's work around these songs and put another vibe. So for me, at first, I had obviously worked on writing a couple of songs, but when Mike came up with these super awesome song, and after JP wrote the drum, I was like, okay, I need to do something totally new. So I scrapped like 4 or 5 songs and I wrote like 4 or 5 new ones. So that's how it came up with this different vibe. So obviously when we'll be working on other albums in the future, we'll try to do a unique vibe. So maybe
Mm.
we'll see. But for this one, it was really started with what Mike has been able to provide as the core of this album.
So is that because now there's so much music out there, we can have that oversaturation. We've got, even if we look at brutal death, slam, and deathcore as well, we've got absolute plethora of bands. So as musicians, is that important to you all to keep going forward and doing something a little bit different, maybe a little different theme to help you have that more unique quality, as you said, Alex, help you stand out amongst the crowd? I'm not bashing any of those bands, there's so much great stuff out there, but I've often thought at times it must be quite difficult to stand out amongst that genre because we have such high quality there.
Yeah, want to go with your feeling on this one, JP?
Yeah, I could for sure. There's a lot of bands. You got to stand out. That's for sure. I think we still like stay true to like our sound. I think, but you have to always be like on the search for what can we do different. What can we add? What can we, just not to be like ahead of the curve necessarily, like because I don't think like we're reinventing the wheel or whatever.
Yeah.
But just to add like something different, and
Yeah.
we'll see with the next one, and we'll see with the response with this one. But yeah, we're still staying true to our sound for sure.
Yeah.
But it's always interesting to switch things up a little bit.
And we're like I mentioned prior, we're very aware of all the new releases in the genre that we're playing. We're listening to them just as fans, but also as musicians. What can we learn from these new releases? How they are received from the crowd, and what riffs stands above the other ones. So at least for me, I tend to listen to every new release that came up, but sometimes it just goes a bit under the radar for me because it some bands, I mean, everybody is trying to do the best that they can with what they can achieve as a band, but sometimes
Yeah.
it just goes a bit under the radar or
Mm.
maybe too similar to other releases. So we try to keep that in mind. I mean, we're not really, like JP said, above the curve or ahead of the genre that we're playing, but we're just trying to provide a little bit of something new that can hopefully stands aside or just shine compared to all the other release that I mean every band tries to create their own identity. There's I mean, just for us, I mean, we're releasing our album the same day as Suffocation, so we cannot
Yeah.
compare with Suffocation or Cranium or stuff like that, but we've been able to achieve, I think, a sound that fits with us, based on our music capacities, or capabilities, or the way that we can play songs. But we're just trying to pitch new ideas, new vibes. But at the end, it's just a matter of being able to play them live, going on tour, and then be sure that people can get hooked at the first riff.
Yeah, exactly. Catching your ear, hooking them in. It's like I said, it's definitely got that brutal fury. And that was a good point. You mentioned, Alex, that some bands can sound too similar. We've talked about this with past guests on the show, where sometimes it can be band A can sound like band B with a little bit of C, but you can get it where it really does sound like the source of inspiration really, really too much, where you can think, right, well, I'll just listen to the original band. And I appreciate that can be difficult because we can all subconsciously have those influences shine through as well. But it's nice, as you said, to bring in your little perspective on that, adding something in that helps you catch the crowd as well. Doesn't have to push the wheel, as you said, but just staying faithful to that genre and putting something out that's killer, that's moshable, and instantly hits those feels that this definitely does. So with the next track, before we get to the one we mentioned a little bit earlier, which Ross, shout out to you, you'll enjoy that one when we get to it. So this one, man, this could, now I'm curious with this, with gouged eye copulation. but see, this could be from a number of areas, because it could be a real world horror incident or inspired by a horror movie, or it could even be like something from history, something tribal that's happened with warriors, with fighting with someone. So this one had me wondering just where you drew the source of inspiration for the title.
Oh, I mean, I don't think this one was based, especially on real events, but I'm
Yeah.
sure it can be at
Yeah.
some point. I'm sure everything we're coming up with, I'm sure it's already been done in real life. So it's just a matter for me to
Sadly,
go.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So this one, I mean, we were like, JP is really creative on song titles and everything. So I like to work with him and all the guys in the band, but especially JP on this one. So we're just brainstorming, pitching ideas, and JP has his own folder with the articles that he finds. But I mean, this one, I was like, I want a title that creates a vibe of creepiness and shock value to the people that were, oh my god,
Yeah.
someone's getting fucked through the aisle, and the stuff like that. But not in a vulgar way, we're not writing fucked through the skull or stuff like that. We're
Yeah.
just trying to get a bit of curiosity through the listener of our songs. Oh man, that's brutal. So if
Yeah.
these guys get to the point where they read the lyrics, I mean, it gets to a point where it's even funnier. So just like like I mentioned prior, I have the Brain Dead movie in mind, so it's
Oh
so
man.
exaggerated that it gets funny. So we don't want to get too vulgar, too explicit, but I mean, we obviously like to have a good laugh out these songs titles. So Gouge Eye Copulation was, I think, just pronouncing it was like, oh, that's a good song
Yeah.
title. So
Yeah. Some of these just roll off the tongue, and I mean, when you're live as well, when you're playing live as well, with some of the titles, you'll want to catch your breath, not to get tongue tied. Well, it's funny you mentioned Brain Death again as well, because man, isn't that such a classic movie? The priest in it as well, where it says, "I kick ass for the Lord." That movie is so funny. But
true classic.
oh, definitely, man. But I think you're hitting it right, because you're giving enough shock to catch people. That shock value, like, oh man, this is brutal, this is sick, and then you hear it. And honestly, if I caught you guys live, as you've been saying, and the song said, I'd just laugh, and then I'd just continue moshing. I remember, way back, taking a friend to see Visceral Bleeding way back in the day, and a guy come out live and he put his foot on the stage, and he got the mic and he just said, "This song is about setting somebody's face on fire." And my friend wasn't really into any of the extreme ends of metal, I shall say, and his face, he was just that. It was so funny just to see his reaction. But yeah, he got into it. He, learned to appreciate the music, which is what it's about. So there was something I was going to ask you, and now it's just escaped. So I will come back to it. So we'll get to the the if you like, the clencher, the one that's certainly going to drag people into this album for sure. Ross, I think this is going to be a favorite for you as well. Shout out to you. And that's Masturbated to Death, as we mentioned. As we mentioned,
Yes.
there's certainly a lot of serial masturbators out there for sure. What was incredible though, JP, you mentioned earlier that this was actually a real life situation that had happened, and man, whoever read that medical report must have that must have made some reading for sure.
Well, the idea is funny, like, because at some points you would think like you would stop. Like, so I thought the contradiction here was kind of funny because like you have to be like super compulsive, and actually it reminded me of some like actual stories of like compulsive masturbators who actually like would masturbate to the point of bleeding and then go to the hospital or whatever, and then they would get like turned on and aroused seeing nurses and then masturbate again. So it's kind of, it's compulsive. That's why there's the sample also in the track about compulsion,
Yeah,
which was a Jeffrey Dahmer sample, by the way, which is not really like yeah, they're the same context, but actually the words were fitting,
Yeah, what I loved as well, JP, is in the press release. There's a line and it says, "And the frantic and as you said there, and the frantic compulsive thuggery of Masturbated to Death."
Oh man,
I just thought, man, when I did creative writing at college with screenwriting. I just thought, imagine handing in a paper something titled like that. I said, "Look, I've got this idea for a screenplay." That's what it's about. I said, "Look, it's about this dude."
oh man.
But
Yeah, I mean, we're when we have a good laugh out of
yeah,
a song title, we know that we have something. So that, like GP, we get stimulated on our creativity with
yeah,
providing or just brainstorming about song titles like that. So we have articles, we try to mash up some ideas. Like after that, do I get inspired to write a short story about a dude getting stabbed with a frozen feces or stuff like that?
yeah,
So I mean, it's just a matter of getting a good laugh out of it, and this one was really funny.
yeah.
I think we have like a real like visual aspect to our songwriting and lyrics.
Yeah,
So like we said earlier, like we like to have titles that are really like like there's an imagery like attached to it. You read the title, you know what it's about,
yeah.
and you giggle a little.
Oh yeah, you have to, because I always say to people, like we were saying earlier, with people's misconceptions surrounding extreme metal, and I say think of like very over the top, exaggerated theater and art. It's either has that horror aspect or the real, or the yet it's so ridiculous it can become comedy and that humor, and it makes you giggle. And
It's very tongue in cheek.
it is, yeah, it definitely is. And I'm wondering I know this one, it features Jonathan Huber of Bludgeon. So when he heard the title, did he have the same reaction? Have a good laugh and went, yeah, definitely, I'm down for this one.
I'm pretty sure that they had a good laugh out of it. At first, it was just a matter of getting the right song for the right feature. So we wanted to go very limited on the feeds for this album. At first, we weren't even looking for feature, but after that, we did get on tour. We met Jonathan at the Chicago Domination Fest, and we were like, "Oh, you know what? That could be cool to have you on a feature if you're available." And he was like, "Oh man, I want to do a feature on your
Yeah.
album so bad." So with that in mind, we were like, "Oh, we have a good song for you that fits with your type of vocals." So this one, I mean, uh, I'll ask him what he felt about the song title and everything, but I'm sure they had a good laugh out of
Oh
it too.
yeah,
So yeah.
But I know that for voluntary castration, like Matt really enjoyed it. He said great lyrical content. And it's funny because I actually saw Cryptopsy yesterday, and I had to talk with Matt after the show. And said he was at home with his kids while recording the thing. So I could imagine the guy like yelling those lyrics with his kids like right next to him. So,
yeah,
it was
yeah,
funny.
yeah, for sure. And that looked like a hell of a fest you played as well at Domination Fest, because there's a short video clip that you posted where there's everybody in the circle pit around your lead singer there, and you're playing another wonderfully titled song from the 2019 release called "Gagging on Feces," which sadly can sometimes happen at festivals if you've been unlucky enough to be in the wrong toilet area. So, but what I noticed though is there is that energy. There's that the crowd are definitely getting into it. And as I was saying about this album, Repugnant, that feel is translated into it. Some people say, "Oh, you listen to lots of extreme metal," but I do get that essence of it, which I think is a great thing. It's got that atmosphere, it's got the heaviness, and I think that's just absolutely awesome. So with the next one, and again, could you tell us a little bit of how you put the music together for it, and also how you came up with the title for this one, which is man, this truly would be hell. Nail clipper circumcision.
So you know the drill.
Yeah.
This one came up from JP.
Yeah, I mean, I was just clipping my nails, and I just figured, man, like putting your foreskin in there must hurt so bad. I just had that thought, just a flash that came up to me was like,
Yeah,
dude, that's
would
brutal
recommend
though.
trying it.
That's brutal. That's pretty much it. That's all I thought. Just a thought that, man, that must hurt.
Oh man.
Sorry about this. There's probably fans out there saying, "This dude's just sat there laughing all the time." Sorry, Alex. Go on.
No. Please continue, man.
Yeah, we'll recover. I sometimes think that, but randomness can often, I think, in my opinion, create sometimes the best humor as well, because I have a very visual imagination. Things can pop in my mind completely
Yeah,
at
so do
random.
I.
Yeah, jokes. I can be walking down the street. I start laughing about something. I've said this in shows before. People like that. I can't help it. I see everything like a movie happen. And I've often thought with what you just said, you had the nail clipper there, and thought, oh yeah, that would probably hurt if I did that. I'm not advising anybody to go and do that, folks. You'll regret it, that's for sure. I've often thought this the Sci-Fi Channel, with some of their movies at times. I thought, is there a creative department like this office somewhere where it's got all of these stoners sat there saying, I know, we'll make a movie about sharks versus, the Sharknado movies. We'll make about a movie about sharks appearing in a tornado, attacking people. Just something about it. That's going to be another amusing one to play. I think that will get a good cheer and a lot of giggles as well. Before we chat about the other tracks, I just wondered as well. So, to both of you, what then grabs your attention and makes a really sick and brutal album, in your opinion?
Man, that's a pretty good question because I mean JP listens to a lot of bands, even international bands, well-known bands, and the local bands too. So I mean we can get a good influence out of it. I mean, whatever the genre, but we'll focus on the brutal death metal scene. I mean, you have to be able to provide velocity in your music. You know, your riffs have to be super fast at times. The drum has to be top notch too. So if you're playing brutal death metal and the drummer is not playing fast enough, at least in some parts of the songs, I think it's a miss. So like you mentioned, all of our songs tends to have certain parts where the drum is like full fucking blast
Mm,
through the roof,
mm,
300 BPM, full gravity blast. So I mean, that's what I'm looking in brutal death metal. A very efficient, very fast, very brutal drum that can be complemented with catchiness on some other riffs. You know, so I don't want a song that has the same tempo from the start to the end. So I tend to get zoned out if it happens, you know. So if I listen to a song that is just the same fucking blast beat from start to finish, I zone out, you know. So I'm like,
yeah,
okay, oh, okay, yeah, exactly.
yeah.
So I don't know for you, JP.
Yeah, I think heaviness as a concept is more of a concept than speed, matter. So I feel like it's about vibe and impact,
Mm,
and your songwriting has to be focused on dynamics and the impact that you want to have. So sometimes, sometimes something's not going to be heavy enough because, let's say, the drums don't fit the riff, or there's a mismatch there. So I think it's really about dynamics and impact.
do you think as well it's also having the right vocalist that can match the fierceness of the music? You know, that the voice can stand out, that you can hear it, because sometimes I've heard some bands where the music is killer, but the vocalist has been quite weak and hasn't quite gone with the music.
Well, vocals is the first thing people hear,
Yeah, definitely.
and there's sometimes that's some people won't like a band just because of vocals.
Yeah,
So yeah, of course you got to have nice vocalists, a good vocalist.
yeah,
Exactly, and
That's for sure.
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. I mean, the vocals have to match the intensity or the brutality of your songs, you know. So we're very fortunate to have John with us for
Mm,
this part. And I mean, it's sometimes it's a hit, sometimes it's a miss. It's very I see vocals as another instrument where we're trying to get another layer in the songs. So it's not a matter of being the main part of a song, but it's I think it's the like JP said, it's the first thing that people hear in a song. So
And I think and actually a lot of people don't like us because of the vocals, and we
really?
don't care. We don't care.
Yeah, go listen to
This is
something
part of
else.
our sound, and I feel like they fit the music that we play. And there's the heaviness to it, and it's
Yeah,
brutal and uncompromising. There's no
yeah.
compromise. And if you like it or you don't.
That's
So I'm fine with people not liking it. That means
yeah,
that we're doing it right. I feel.
yeah, yeah. Well, exactly. That's the way it should be. For brutal death, and well, any
Yeah,
really
because heavy
extreme
and
heavy genre,
disgusting. That's what.
it has to have that. You can't have a kind of pleasant melodic tone, and I'm not saying there's no place for that or nothing wrong with those kind of vocals, but if it's going to be the kind of music that you're playing, it has to flow with it, it has to fit with it, or it just doesn't work. It really doesn't. And yeah, as you said, they can go and listen to something else if they're not a fan of it. Um, so with you playing at such intensity and speed and heaviness as well, how do you both, how do you all actually keep yourselves in shape to do that? To get, is it just experience of playing at that level and speed? Or am I going to get a completely opposite answer to this?
No, I was like just hearing you saying, "How do you stay in shape?" We are, we totally
Totally
are
out of shape.
not totally out of shape. So,
I had to ask you because someone would.
no, I mean, JP, I mean, obviously practice more than us. So for us, I mean, for me, playing bass is like pretty easy. I've been used to playing fast stuff early in my 20s, so it's been over 20 years that I've been playing bass, and I like the stuff that are very fast. So I know I can play slam riffs and stuff like that, but I tend to be challenged with playing stuffs that are technical and super fast. So I really like the fact that we're able to provide these kinds of vibe or riffs in our songs, and having JP being able to play them. But I know JP has been not complaining, but noticing uh, in the last few months that he would he'd prefer for us to write songs that are a bit more slower, just for him
Yeah, I
to.
get tired,
Yeah, he's like, oh, we're always playing super fast at 300 BPM. You guys need to write songs that are more slower, so just for him to catch a break. So,
Maybe a rest
But
song.
at the same time, it's an aspect of our music, So if you kind of tone it down, but like just a couple BPMs.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I saw Cryptopsy yesterday. Like I said, and Flo's like 49 years old, and is killing it, but is like in really good shape as well.
Yeah.
so
I think
So there's a point where there's an age you get to a certain age that you have to try to get a shape because like youth doesn't provide that energy anymore.
to get the fitness so you can continue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I've always been fascinated by extreme bands as well, how they play at those speeds. And as you said, there's some bands who still go on and play. And I've always found that very interesting. And as I was saying earlier to people, look, it is not as easy as you think. I get it all the time. Oh, it's just shouting and growling. Seriously, it is. There's a lot more to it than you realize. As this perfect excuse, I'm going to be watching this later after I've talked with you guys. Would you be interested in? I think your music would flow so well with this. Would you be interested in having your music featured, say, by a UFC fighter? As he's going into the cage, I would just seem to flow with it so well.
Oh man, anyone interested in doing or featuring our music, if it's a UFC fighter or an Japanese anime or whatever, I mean, I'm all for it, because we're not gatekeepers of the genre. If a UFC fighter is really into our songs for whatever the reason or whatever the status of this fighter, I mean, we're definitely all in for it. I mean, so that would be a true honor if it ever happens, But we aren't going to approach fighters to use our song. But if it's something that could happen, I know for me, I'm a fan of MMA and UFC, and Mike in the band is practicing MMA. So if it ever happens, it's going to be an achievement for us. So
yeah, I would be absolutely killer. I guess it's just one of my fanboy fantasies there I'm letting out, I guess. I just always thought, man, the music would just flow so well in the entrance theme for one of those fighters. Excuse me. Now I'm choking myself. Man, there's a song title in the works. So coming up to... now I'm actually going to have trouble pronouncing this one. Ruptured priapism, I think. So is this was this a random thought or a real life medical horror?
I think it was he had another title at first, but then I didn't like the title, so we kind of like went with the a synonym or whatever. A priapism is actually a medical condition.
Right.
Yeah, so where you have like those like super painful erections that don't go away.
Just as I drank water.
So the guy is just jacked for like a whole week, and at the end he bleeds. I think I don't remember quite clearly how I wrote the lyrics, but I think at the end he bled to his own death. So the guy was just full erection mode for a whole week, and he finally passed away. So I
Wow.
think just the idea. So like you said, it's just it's a weird title, but when you get the lyrics, I mean,
Yeah.
when I think personally, I think it's the most funniest one that I wrote on this album. So
Yeah. I'm discovering that definitely. It's already giving me that sense of like a movie cover or something where there's some poor dude is sat, laid out, sprawled on the floor, and there's the blood going from him from his unplanned error with physical activity, I shall just say. Literally a DIY horror for sure. Um, Again, was this the same process with the riffs and the drums and the music for this one?
yeah,
Yeah, pretty much.
exactly. Yeah, this one was wrote by Mike. It was one of the earlier ones. So I think nail clipping, circumcision, and rupture to reprism was like wrote to be back to back songs.
Yeah,
So when you listen to both of them musically, it's like it fits perfectly. So that's how Mike saw it, and that's how we were able to place them on the album. But after that, it's just a matter of having fun writing the lyrics and the story behind these songs. So
yeah. So I'm curious. I, are there any other kind of areas that you would maybe like to do with future releases? I know you like to do, like we've been chatting about, and we still got other songs to talk about as well. The humor. I just wondered if there's any other themes or interests that you all have that you thought, man, we could actually make some pretty killer, sick, brutal music around those areas too.
I don't know for you, JP, for this one.
Can you repeat the question? I kind
Is
of
there?
phased out for a second.
No, it's all right. Don't worry. It happens to myself when I'm asking a question. Sometimes it just evaporates. Did in the previous show. Um, are there any other interests, that you hold that you think, man, I would like to make some sick and brutal
Yeah.
music around that you may not have done so far?
I mean, everything's pretty much there, with the style that we're
Yeah,
doing, like I think like anything like horror and real life horror and it's a bit of like sometimes like a psychiatry or something,
yeah,
like sometimes there's psychiatric conditions and there's so much like dark stuff going on for
mm,
so there's always inspiration. Like humanity is, mankind is an endless source of inspiration for sure. So you just
yeah,
got to look into it, look into history, look into the psychiatry or perversion or paraphilia. There's
yeah,
so much stuff like, but that's the other thing, like we like to dig into it's kind of a dig into the human mind, like more
yeah,
than just like, rape and murder and stuff. Like have more a little more depth to it. I feel it's funny, but like there's a little more depth.
get to the
Yeah,
psychology of
no,
it. Yeah.
I think we're good in the alley for sure. When I gotta start writing songs about NASCAR or whatever. I'm not into
So,
NASCAR, but
so
Yeah.
I mean, we're definitely be looking soon for other articles online with other story to keep telling. So I think maybe I don't know when it will happen or if it will ever happen, but I think we'll be able to associate our name to this type of expectation. Oh, it's gonna be funny. We don't know which song's title is gonna be, but I'm sure people are going to be able to get a good laugh out of it. So I mean, I expect people to have a good laugh out of our song titles and everything, and expect brutal,
Mm,
super high speed riffs and drums and everything on our songs, but it's just going to be a matter of how we are able to package everything. So we want to make sure that it doesn't get too high on expectation that people will be deceived in a way. So
yeah,
it's just a matter of keeping it with a bit of surprise. So we'll make sure to incorporate some new elements for sure, just to keep it fresh and new for even people who will be listening to who have been listening to us for a couple of years now.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I'm curious, JP, with you mentioning horror and the horror of humanity as well. So I'm going to put this loaded question to both of you, two-parter. Um, first, what would be some of your favorite horror movies? And then the second part of the question, what tales from history or current events of horror that have really caught your imagination and attention? You've thought, oh man, that's pretty brutal stuff.
Horror movies. There's quite a couple.
Really?
Evil Dead 2 for sure.
Oh, yes, yes.
The Fly, The
Mm,
Thing.
it's definitely the thing, John Carpenter.
Um, yeah, I'm a big John Carpenter fan.
Yeah.
I think In the Mouth of Madness is highly
Mm,
underrated. Being a
mm,
fan of like Lovecraft, I think it's the best Lovecraftian movie that's not like a Lovecraft movie. It's actually better than any Lovecraft adaptation that they made. Demon Knight, very
yeah.
little horror as well. Yeah, there's a ton actually, but yeah, that would be
Yeah,
like in my top list for sure.
JP is a good fan of horror movies, so he knows his stuff. So
Same, same. Uh, what, what about you, Alex?
Oh, I mean, it's been a couple of years, but I know the classics like Evil Dead, Brain
Yeah.
Dead. I've been trying to get into some newer stuff or more brutal stuff like a Serbian movie. So I've watched this one and I was like, oh man, okay. It can inspire us to write songs about it, but I mean it was so much to another level. I was like, no, I need to step a little bit beyond this. I like when it's good stories that it gets funny, there's obviously some classics like the Freddy Krueger
Yeah.
series, stuff like that. So I
Yeah,
mean,
I think yeah.
no, go
I
ahead.
didn't want to cut you off.
It's all right. Sorry.
No, no,
No, because yeah, because horror, it doesn't have to be scary. Sometimes it's more about like storytelling,
Yeah.
and bringing like new concepts and stuff like that. So I think that's what's the most interesting thing about horror.
Yeah. If it has,
I mean, we're adults; we're not scared watching movies.
yeah. Yeah. If it has that. Yeah. The
It's more
psycho.
about effects and
Yeah.
stories and
no, I think we
Yeah.
can see horror movies the same way that we see brutal death metal albums. It's just a matter of trying to people know what to expect, so it's just a matter of trying to create something different in some certain ways to get their attention. Just getting aside from the mass or just trying to provide something new. So I mean, recently, I'll try to step my game up with recent horror movie releases. But the I mean, I'm going to get some heat for this one, but I really like the remake of the Evil Dead movie.
Oh no! I was actually gonna
oh,
ask
it was a
JP
great
that.
one.
Yeah,
Oh
no, I
no!
know, no, I understand, but
Mm.
I mean, for people that were really into the first one, I mean, it's they won't like the second one. But for me, I think I really
I loved
like
it.
yeah, I love the graphic parts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked it. Maybe not the whole story. It wasn't as
Yeah.
well presented as the original movie, but I mean the graphic scenes were really into my vibe, you know. So I really liked how it ended too, with the L coming up on Earth and everything. So I really like this one. I was surprised, no, because I was expecting sweet fuck all from this movie. So I was like, oh, I mean, I think it's just a matter of expectations, you know. So
It's
if you expect big things, you are going to be obviously deceived, you know. And it happened even for us when we released the first album and the second one. I won't mention the name, but it was a web magazine that provided one hell of a review for our first album. I was like, man, this is so cool. And he totally shit on the second one, like,
really
oh man, go listen to Cranium, it's better. So I was like, okay.
damn.
I was like, okay, the guy was just not expecting sweet
Well,
nothing from us. And after listening to our first album, he was like, oh, this is good. I'm eager to listen to the second one. So we weren't obviously able for him to provide the same effect that
yeah,
he got from the first one. So I mean, it's just a matter of managing expectations, you know. So I think I think it's the same for movies, horror movies, remakes. It's sometimes a hit or miss, you know. So
yeah. It there's a fine example of just how subjective it is. Um I didn't like the first Evil Dead remake. The second one I liked for about 20 minutes, then it just fell off for me. I did think the idea could have was good. I liked the setting, but it just didn't do it for me. One of my favorite recent TV series in recent years, and you know I'm going to go with this, is the Evil Dead series. I'm always talking about that with people. I loved it. It was so funny. The especially I've said this so many times, but the morgue scene. Spoiler alert. So, um, but I thought the I think it was you, Alex, that said with horror, or was it you, JP? You can have kind of sometimes just like that more suspense and psychological edge where you haven't got all say the gore and splatter and violence, and then you have in the others. So, and I thought that's quite a good reflection for extreme metal because in brutal death, slam, even deathcore, you know, we can have the more aggressive, violent, I guess, side of horror, and then with some aspects of black metal, you can get the more atmospheric kind of sinister vibe there as well. So the other question I had for both of you, just before we get to the next two songs, is are there any you know when you were looking at some of these things on the internet for song titles, JP, is there anything that you come across, or mind you, I've just realised circumcising yourself in the backyard is probably up there. So I just wondered, outside of that, has there been anything else that you thought, man, I didn't think this had happened, or something even from an era of history where you thought, man, we were really
Well, actually, the
cheap.
funny thing is that I don't like I'm not really looking
Yeah,
for these articles. I just like stumbled upon them.
yeah,
I was like, oh, that's crazy.
yeah, yeah, sure.
yeah,
But if we talk about like events, current events that happened that are like so crazy, I mean, like I don't have like one in particular, but like a lot of people like tend to like dehumanize other people and then
yeah,
do like terrible stuff to them. So you got some people like will torture other people like in real life, like
yeah,
for like stupid reasons sometimes, like for not liking the government or because you know they're like use a Mexican cartel or whatever, you
yeah,
know, they're doing like atrocious thing like to one another, and
Yeah,
that's for me. It's just like you like a human being doing this to another human being. It's
yeah,
just there's all the dehumanization process that goes with it. You know, when you don't consider the other person like a human being, you can do pretty much whatever. And if you're a sociopath, will have empathy for anyone. So
yeah.
that's like I mean, in general, that's fucked up to me.
Yeah, literally, it really is. What about you, Alex? Anything that's
I mean, like JP said, we're we're try to expose in a funny way the
Yeah,
most wickedness of man, the
yeah,
sociopath, lack of empathy for other humans and stuff like that. Because if we just transpose the stories as they are exposed on the internet, it's not gonna be funny just to write a song talking about the cartel or decapitation or stuff like that. I mean, I'm not creatively stimulated by these kinds of story, but I mean, having a story like consensual castration in the backyard is really more in my vibe. I'm like, oh man, this is so random and so funny to write about. So I mean, we don't want to get too serious on
yeah,
our topics where people are just
yeah,
grossed out about the fact that it can happen, but just having it so exaggerated. But sometimes the exaggeration or what seems to be an exaggeration is really the true story, so
yeah, yeah. Real life sometimes can be the worst horror there. So it's getting back to the last two tracks from the album. Track 9 there. Forgive my pronunciation here. Lobotomized.
yeah,
Uh,
it's yeah,
um,
this one is it's just
yeah,
it transcribed as bleeding to death,
yeah,
and I for this one it was the last one that we wrote for the album. We tried other ideas, but I was like just looking for a song that could fit with the exact spot that we had in mind for this album with the prior songs that we talked about. So this one, I'm going straight to the fact that it was inspired by Disentomb. I
nice.
really wanted to have a song that had this kind of vibe. It's not a Disentomb song. We don't have the same type of vocals or technicality in our riffs, but I mean, it was a try to get a bit of this vibe in the album. So it transpired to a more serious theme based on bleeding to death, but I wanted to try something that fits with this entomb vibe. So
Yeah,
that's how it transpired.
awesome. And with the musical construction again, the same process like you did with the others.
Exactly, same
Yeah,
process. Yeah.
same. Nice. And then coming to another fave. What a way to close out an album. Takes a deep breath. So, frozen frozen feces evisceration.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I mean,
you know,
I don't ask.
yeah,
Did you come across something, in a toilet somewhere?
no, no. I mean, I don't know if the inspiration is the same for me as it is for JP. I think JP came up with this song title.
I think it was that's another case where it was another title that I didn't like, so we just swept it up a little bit with like synonyms and stuff. But yeah, I guess the inspiration, I don't know.
But I mean, for me, this inspiration, I don't know if you ever seen the internet meme where it's drawn in Microsoft Paint, where there's a dude that shits on a plate, put it in the frozer, and brings it back like an hour after that, stabs a dude in the stomach, and proceed to just fuck him in the hole. So that was just the most extreme meme I've seen on the internet, and I was like, oh no, I need to write a song about this meme. So it's not a true event, but it's based on the internet meme
Yeah.
drawn in paint. So that was really funny. So
I'm gonna look that up after we've done it. I'm gonna look that up.
oh no, I mean, it's a very short song, very straight to the point, very funny. So I mean, no, it's just I think personally, I'm more excited to find song titles that sometimes I'm excited to write the actual song. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's even funnier. We're having a good laugh out of it. It's super
Yeah.
catchy. And after
Well,
that, it's just a matter of trying to find the right songs for the song title.
but that's it. That's the beauty of it. That theme. of still people can have that laugh, then they will revisit the album, because once they've listened to it, and and they'll start talking to friends, man, you've got to hear this. You've got to check out some of these song titles. Be like what, Consensual Castration, Masturbated to Death, Frozen Feces Evisceration. And it's actually a very good way of catching people's attention as well, especially those who haven't heard the band before. Be like, man, I've got to hear this. I've got to hear this. What's this like? And I like, it's like, as we've been saying, yes, very exaggerated, over to the top, where it's got that comedy side as well, but you can have a giggle. But then the music, man, the riffs, the mosh parts, the blast beats, some of the breakdowns, man, the speed, it's just all there. It's intensity from start to finish, and it's something that I feel, in my opinion, this is no ego stroking. Some may argue, well, you're an extreme metalhead punk hardcore guy. Rah, 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 rah. I do like other stuff as well, folks. But it's something that I think encourages you to listen to again, because we've got the heaviness there with the music, but then there's that giggle, and it's something that, as a fan, as I just said, I would enjoy sharing with others, saying, man, you've got to hear this, listen to this. And then, of course, that spreads. But then you've got the music. And if you like any kind of heavy music and you enjoy having just a absolute good mosh as well, that's there for you. It's like the dual purpose.
Yeah, thanks, man. And I mean,
Yeah.
I think we see it as the same way as any business see their marketing. You can have the best product if you don't find any way to people to discover it in a funny way or whatever. Just trying to create a trend or a vibe going on around the band, you're going to miss something, so it might be just a matter of creating song titles that are so exaggerated, that are funny, doing some memes on Instagram or TikTok or whatever,
Yeah.
just trying to get your music or your name going around to people that might have never taken like 5 seconds to listen to your song, but
Yeah.
after seeing the song titles, a meme or a video on Instagram or stuff like that, they're like, "Oh, it's been the sixth time that I've seen their name. I'm going to
Yeah.
check them out on Spotify." And after
Exactly.
that, it's just, "Oh man, what have I been missing?" So it's we're just
Yeah.
trying to get some ways to people to be just interested in
Yeah.
listening to us at the end, because if we just post our music on our social media platforms, people will just like, man, okay, I've seen your post like 5 times. Okay, I've been listening to your album. It's good, but I'll go try to listen to other stuff. So there's so many new releases of music that
Yeah.
you have to find ways to keep your name out there. So,
Yeah, it's really tough now with that oversaturation for everything. I was saying to DJ from Human Missile Crisis and the show just before you, it was one of the reasons why I relaunched the channel as Fed Up a few weeks ago. Short, simple name. Always fed up about something. We can come on and have a rant, whatever, and opened it up to absolutely everything and anything musically. And I'm just, again, this is my humor, folks. Another loaded one. Do you have some planned merchandise coming up? Shirts to support the new album, and if so, is one possibly going to feature this meme that you told me about?
I mean, I mean, it's definitely something that we're looking for. So far, we're looking to release merch based on the two singles that will be released. So, Repugnant, the art of the album, but we also have a design for unsedated face removal. So we're definitely looking to garnish our designs or merch designs. So I think we'll keep this idea in mind, and just release it just to have something just so over the top that it's funny for people to have it. So definitely keeping this idea in my pocket.
Yeah. But that just come into mind. Literally, I thought there would be a different shirt design. I've got to give Props to JP for the SpongeBob shirt as well, man. Talk about one of the most random shows ever. I think was there one episode where there was someone just.
Well, that's a wormhole shirt.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's the scene. No, the problem. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
the band,
yeah.
Take That band that we've toured last summer. These guys are super cool, and they've released their a merch with SpongeBob, so they're just trying to keep pitching different ideas to keep their brand alive. So I
Yeah.
think it's a definitely a hit for them. So
Yeah. And do you have any album release shows planned that are coming up soon as well?
yeah, we have one in Montreal,
Yeah.
November 22, with Signs of the Swarm. So it's gonna be a very cool gig. We are obviously fans of these guys for over the last few years, and I think the respect is mutual. So we're very excited for this one.
Mm.
We also have an album release show in the province of Quebec. It's gonna be a place where it's like a 10-hour drive, but it's gonna
Wow.
be really cool. It's a very cool scene in Abitibi. It's an area where I was born, so I really like this scene. There's a lot of metal heads and fans of the scene, but we're definitely looking for other gigs. We have one that will be probably announced very soon in Ottawa for an album release show. But other than that, we're very cautious not to overplay ourselves, and we should be able in the next few months to announce a new tours also. So
Oh, awesome.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, that would be sick, man.
yeah, most of the touring should be next year.
Yeah, nice.
You have a couple of gigs like in the next couple of months, but most of the touring will be next year.
There's another thing you posted on your Facebook. I've got a comment on as well, and that was, I guess, breast milk. Says when the riff is so hard that you start lacerating. There's the guy in the gym, and I just thought that would be an uncomfortable moment next time I'm working out. So yeah, I love the humor, man. Hilarious.
No, really, and it's very fun to have a chat with you over these facts that someone is able to appreciate the same way that we were having fun just trying to find these ideas.
Oh, I have such eccentric, warped humor, man. It's insane. It's one of I think it's one of those sense of humors, people either get or they just don't. They're just like, right, that's just not funny. And I'm I've always been like that, naturally hyper. Yeah. Uh, things like that is just funny, man. It really is. I'm curious as well. Outside then of playing all this really sick heavy music, what other music do you like? Whether it's a different forms of metal, punk, hardcore, or something completely different.
I know JP plays in post rock band too. So you want to talk a bit about it, JP? Oh, he's there. Okay. JP. Okay.
Oh, there we go. I think it's back.
Yeah. Am I the one who's lagging, or?
Yeah. Don't worry. Halloween visited us early there.
So what are the other styles of music you're listening to, man?
A whole bunch of stuff. Really, like maybe except for reggae, which I really don't like. But like most kinds of metal or some pop music. I've really been on the 90s R&B lately.
So, do you dig any underground? Do you dig any underground hip hop, especially the raw and harder stuff?
Yeah, mostly old school hip hop. Every now and then, EPMD, NWA, and that stuff.
Yeah. Oh, awesome, man. What about you, Alex?
Yeah, I mean, I obviously don't listen to reggae or country music, but I really like. I mean, it's a long shot, but I really like the whole rap music scene from the early 2000s. So I think it was really cool. I've been listening recently to an artist, Trippy the Kid. I mean, I really like this type of rap, hip hop vibe. I mean, it's kind of a clash with what we're doing,
Yeah,
but I mean, I don't want to be too oversaturated with the death metal scene. So I mean, I'm listening to every release, but I when I want to zone out of the brutal death metal genre, I go straight to rap and hip hop scene. So
yeah,
yeah, I really like this vibe, and I mean, you can basically take a hip hop song and make a slam song out of it. It's like the
yeah.
same
Beats.
same
Yeah,
temp, same beat, very catchy, very repetitive riffs, slow tempo. So I mean, if I wanted to write a song tonight about slam, I'll go straight to get one from the hip hop or rap scene. You know.
yeah. No, it's interesting. Ross, who was here earlier from Planet X Filmworks, he used to be an underground hip hop MC, worked with cats like Hellraiser, Killer Priest, all of those guys, and it has its underground scene just as much as metal, and it has even a very raw, hard sound as well. I mean, it even has horrorcore genres, which is pretty much. I mean, the most famous example would be Necro, and it's just literally death metal rap. You know, the same the lyrics and everything. Um, so no, that was very interesting, and that's what I like to do with Fed Up now is keep it open to everything and anything. There maybe some guests come on who does a style of music I know absolutely nothing about, but hey, that's cool. I'll still talk to them. Yes, my extreme leanings do come out here and there, but um, and I like a lot of stuff as well outside of listening to songs about some poor guy being I don't know castrated to death or whatever. As we said.
I mean, I would love to have a hip hop or rap song talking about the backyard castration. You know, I
Yeah.
think it could be something very cool for the scene. You know, so
Yeah. Well, I say Necro. I mean, he's pretty much like the kind of godfather of the horrorcore scene, I guess. A lot of his albums. Um, I think he was in a thrash band with his brother. I think he's. I think he's Ill Bill's brother, if I remember correctly. Anyway, sorry, I'm random nerding live on there, and people are like "Ooh," whatever. I do want to thank you both for joining me today. I've had a lot of fun chatting to you about the music, our off-topic giggles as well here and there. It's been super fun, man.
Pleasure is ours, man.
oh
Oh,
man, absolutely, it was very cool, very fun, and thank you again for having us, man. Truly appreciate it.
you're both very welcome. Whenever I get to the end of a show, before I frighten people with like me pausing like this when I hit end stream, I always say to guests, if there's anything they would like to shout out about anything at all, I always like to give them that last word. I will put all the links and description, to the band and Comatose in the description as well.
Yeah, I mean, for us, I mean, it's pretty. We're still uh, encouraging people to follow us on our social media platforms. Keep sharing our stories, our memes, and your experience with us. Any videos that you've taken from us live. I mean, we're doing music obviously not for the money. We're
Yeah,
just having so much fun producing what we're doing together. Uh, I mean, personally, I'm very proud with the guys that together we've been able to create over the years, and I think we
yeah,
have many more successful stories to come up in the next few years. And just just shout out to everyone who keeps following us and liking and sharing new stories with our music, and the guys like you, man, just having us and having a chat, just having a good fun, getting a more insight view of what we're doing and how we're doing things. It's truly is very cool.
you're
Yeah,
very
man.
welcome, Alex, and you, JP. Any shouts?
I know, like Alex said, like anybody like who's been like giving us any platform, to talk about our music and stuff. And obviously, our new album Repugnant is out November 3rd. So don't miss that out.
Yeah.
But that's it.
Yeah, definitely. Folks, get those pre-orders in November the 3rd, as JP just said. If you enjoy really nice, heavy, sick, brutal music that you can definitely mosh to, you definitely don't want to pass up on it. So go over to comatosemusic.com and get those pre-orders in. I will put all the links in descriptions for Necrotic Gorebeast on the channel as well, the show, so you can get all the links from there too. I want to thank you both for joining me. It's been a blast, and you're welcome back anytime for random chats about medical monstrosities and death metal.
Oh, we'll definitely
Thank
come
you, man.
with
Thank you.
more ideas, man. Thank you, man.
Oh, you're both very welcome. So, folks, I'm going to hit end stream and do that uncomfortable pause moment where I wait a couple of seconds, people thinking, yeah, Fed Up Gaz is possessed again. So let's